Welcome to Navigating Love and Immigration. I'm your host, Megan Pastrana. Falling in love is exciting. Maintaining a healthy relationship takes work. And when you're going through an immigration process, you are faced with unique challenges. This podcast is for anyone in a cross-cultural relationship who finds themselves lost in the labyrinth of U.S. immigration. We will interview relationship experts, explore the stories of real couples, and provide important tips on starting the next chapter of your lives together. Welcome to this week's episode of Navigating Love and Immigration. So this week's topic is stress is a choice. So I would like to just have you sit with that for a minute. And how does that feel to hear stress is a choice? That stress in your life is a decision that you have made. That's an experience that you have decided to have. Does that make you feel angry, frustrated? Are you just wanting to laugh that off? I will tell you personally that the first time that I heard or learned from a mentor that stress is a choice, I kind of thought, yeah, I know, we hear that. But when I really sat with it and thought, wait, is stress a choice and how is it a choice? And when I decided on this topic in particular, I've really been sitting with this concept, this idea of how we can actually be responsible for all of the feelings and emotions that we have and how we're responding to life in general. And maybe hearing this triggers you, it just makes you feel like, all right, are you kidding me? Like I didn't cause all of these things in my life to happen that's causing me stress. And while that might be 100% accurate, it's also accurate that we as human beings have this really amazing power of choice, this power to choose how we want to feel and experience life. And this is a whole big topic that really we'll cover here today, but I do have other amazing people in my life who have agreed to be on the podcast. So I want to do further episodes on this and really do an even deeper dive. But I will have a really great friend who is a therapist, and she's in Beverly Hills, and she's amazing. And she said she would, come and talk with us about this more. But in this episode, I'd really like to do, a 30,000 foot view of stress in our lives and really our ability to choose how we experience every day and the emotions that we have, and particularly in the context of immigration. And here at Immigration for Couples, at the law firm, Immigration for Couples, we really help all of the couples that we serve going through the process to have an experience that's uplifting. And we work with them to understand their power of choice as it relates to the stress of their immigration case. So backing up a little bit here before we really, dive in more to the stress being a choice, I'd like to talk a little bit about the reality of stress. And the reality is stress is a really important part of our evolutionary biology. Stress is that inherent part of us that helps us recognize when things aren't right. It's our fight or flight response. It's really important. It gives us the ability to survive in really difficult, dangerous situations. That's the word I'm looking for, dangerous situations in life. And so, a long time ago, there were more things that we as human beings had to be worried about for survival. And that flight or fight instinct was really important. And it still is today. And our bodies are designed to be able to handle stress, to have stress, to respond to stress in a way of, do I need to run? Do I need to freeze? How do I need to respond to this? It's just really our body's way of helping us to survive, to stay alive. And that's great. But, in the day-to-day of the 21st century and of life, there's a lot of stressors, with work or with day-to-day obligations of a home. And then also for individuals that happen to be going through an immigration process, that's additional stress. And that prolonged stress it's not good for our bodies to constantly be in a state of stress. And I was recently, I'm an avid reader. I love reading books. And really what triggered me, or what inspired me rather, to start this topic and to discuss this topic of stress was this recent book that I read called the Gap and the Gain. And this idea of focusing, on human beings, we spend a lot of time focusing on that gap, or spending our time in stress. And so it's a great book. Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy, give a huge shout out to that book. But it talks about, there's a chapter in that book, it was so powerful. And he talked about how when we are in a constant state of stress, when we're hyper focused on the gap, all of the things that don't seem to be going quite right in our lives, and we're in that constant state of just ongoing prolonged stress, and we're ruminating over things in our life, it's not healthy. And there's physiological manifestations that can occur from prolonged stress, because while our bodies are our evolutionary design, our bodies have that stress ability to respond to stress. It's not meant to always be on that mode. And if you have that stress in your life consistently, that can have physiological manifestations. They were talking in the book about people who live in a state of focusing on the things that aren't going right and on stress and being unhappy, have shorter lives, less fulfilling lives, and then also can have a lot of health issues. It was very powerful to read just that impact that your thoughts, choosing to have a certain train of thought, how that can impact you. And so if you're going through an immigration case, yes, it is. It's a stressful process. And I always work with couples and I would say, challenge them to do a reframe. And I will definitely get into how can you reframe the reality of this stressful immigration process that's long and has so many nuances. How is that possible to do a reframe? But before I get into all of that, I just want to mention, recently I've had a lot of conversations with couples who are just starting out in their immigration journey, or who've also finished their immigration journey. And at the beginning of the process, I hear a lot of couples just really focused on, this is going to be so long, I'm so nervous, it's unknown territory, but I want to make sure that we are also taking care of our relationship. And so I really applaud them on wanting to put their union first. And it's really important to pay attention to, how do I want my immigration journey? How do I want to experience this immigration journey? And really helping them to think about, do I want to go into this constantly thinking this is going to be stressful and just repeating that over and over? Because at the end of the day, with it, with the process being long, with there being lots of nuances, with it feeling like you're navigating a maze, is it helpful to keep saying over and over and repeating over and over that this is very stressful? Probably not. And so for the couples on the other side, of their journey, when they've gotten to the end, they tell me, yeah, this is definitely, this process was some kind of journey. It was so many things, so many feelings, but it did build a lot of resiliency. And there's a quote that I love that it says, pressure can break pipes or it can make diamonds. And I tell that quote to a lot of couples when they're first starting their immigration journey. Yeah, there's going to be pressure and stress. And that quote of pressure can burst pipes or make diamonds. Do you want this to be a process that makes your relationship stronger and more resilient? What side of that do you want to come out on? Because it really breaks my heart. We've helped thousands and thousands of couples at Immigration for Couples, and we love our line of work, but something that we see so often in the immigration process, and it really breaks my heart, is that relationships don't always make it to the end. And that's for a lot of different reasons. But one of the reasons that I hear a lot of couples tell us is, this process was a lot. It was a lot. It was stressful. Some couples have to have a long distance relationship. It can be a long wait time. There can just be this hyper focus on the immigration case and really forgetting to connect and to be with and nurture that relationship, that union that you have together. And when you take the focus off of your relationship and put it on your immigration case and stress and ruminate about that immigration process, it can have detrimental impacts in your life. As I already mentioned, there can be those physiological manifestations, illness, headaches, all kinds of different things that can result from stress. But it can also just put so much pressure on your relationship that it doesn't make it to the end. And that breaks my heart. We don't want to see that. And so being intentional in your immigration journey and knowing, yeah, it's a stressful process, but I don't want to just continue to repeat that over and over, because the saying is, what you think about grows. And if you're constantly thinking about this is stressful and just repeating that over and over, that's what it's ultimately going to be. It can be, I have another really amazing friend and mentor in my life who says, this can be as good as you want it to be or as bad as you don't want it to be. And sure, there's a lot of things in the immigration process that you don't have control over. You don't have control over when immigration will get to a point of being able to review your file. You don't have the choice of the immigration officer that will be reviewing your case. You don't have the choice of when your interview will be scheduled. You don't have the choice of how many times immigration might ask you for the same document. But what you do have the choice around is how you want to respond. Do you want to have that be continual stress for you and just focus on that? Or do you want to do a reframe of how to look at that situation? And so from my own personal experience, I am not here professing to be perfect in the realm of stress management. But I am on an intentional growth journey in my life, and so is my husband, and so is my entire team. And we really believe in every day showing up as our best selves and finding ways to, in this human experience, have the best and most amazing and epic journey possible. And so we hold each other accountable, and that's what you can do as a couple. Hold each other accountable for, at the beginning, how do you want this process to be? And what are you going to do when things do feel stressful and you do feel that despair or that frustration? And so an example, as I said, from my own personal immigration journey and my husband's journey, I'll be honest that at the beginning of our, of meeting and the beginning of our journey, we were, of course, much younger, and we were different people, and that's just part of life. You continue to grow and evolve. But I didn't have the mindfulness practices in place for handling stress. And I will be honest, our case had different phases. I mean, you go through a process to receive your green card, and then you'll go through a process if you have to remove conditions, and then there's citizenship. There's a lot of different phases in a person's immigration journey, and it can take many, many years to go through the process from green card to citizenship. There's a lot of different phases. But in that first phase, of our case, I would say that I let the stress consume me quite a bit. And I didn't have those mindfulness practices. I did know that something that worked for me when I felt stressed in law school and in so many other times in my life. I know that being in nature and going on walks helped me. And so I did do that a lot. But there was a lot of wanting to find a way to control the parts of the case and parts of life that you can't control. And that is stress. That is stress manifesting, trying to find a way to, I'm stressed. This doesn't feel good. How can I control this? And so there was a lot of checking the case status every day, multiple times a day, and just ruminating and sitting in that feeling of stress. And, there was a point in that process, in that first phase, where we realized, hey, we need to do something different. We're hyper focusing on this. I have a lot of friends, actually, even friends in law school. I know people are always surprised when they're like, oh, you're an immigration attorney for couples. Do a lot of people need that? And I think people are actually surprised, I digression, but how they're surprised how many people are actually touched by the U.S. immigration system, how many people have gone through the process. And so, I've had friends who've gone through the process too, and we have shared our experiences and our feelings of going through that immigration system and realizing We need to take that focus away from the immigration case and put it on our relationship in the future. I can't control when immigration is going to make a decision on our case, and I can't control how soon or how quickly this process will be done. But what I can control is, where my focus is and how I want to experience the journey. And so for the very first phase of the case, it was just something that was like very internalized, almost to the point of sometimes having like heart palpitations, and that is the physiological manifestations of stress. I was kind of stuffing it and trying to control things by checking all the time and reading and researching, because I was, in law school at the time that we were going through our process, and I was managing the case under the supervision of a licensed attorney. That was a long time ago, but I was doing a lot of research and just very stressed about the process and realizing, these heart palpitations, these basically panic attacks and worry is not the way that I want to experience this journey. That is not what I want for our relationship either. I want the focus to be on the future. And so that is the point in my life really where my growth journey became more intentional. And for future phases in the case, I was in a much better place with being able to handle stress. I knew, like I said, going on walks, being in nature, spending time with my husband and our very adorable dog. I love putting puzzles together. I like going to Zumba, finding things that when I started to feel that stress or that anxiety or frustration, making sure that all of those things were a part of my day to feel fulfilled, to fill my cup, and to take my focus off of being stressed, and then having that have physiological manifestations of that stress. And my husband and I both, there's so many things in life outside of just an immigration case that can be stressful. And so we help each other, hold each other accountable, like I said. And at the Immigration for Couples, our entire legal team, we hold each other accountable too. So there's moments where, if you haven't gotten enough sleep and you haven't drank enough water and you haven't been eating healthy and you haven't been getting physical activity, that how stress feels can be more intense. I say that I feel like my nerves are raw. And I have so much more self-awareness now, over my life, and realizing, I feel really, really stressed. I feel very prickly. I feel like my nerves are raw. I need something. There's something that's lacking, that's be it sleep or food or just relaxation. And again, like I said earlier, I'm never, making this podcast and saying all of these things to profess that I'm perfect. I don't believe in perfection. I believe in striving to be your best and do your best at all times. But we're human beings, and there's going to be times where that stress we're going to feel like our nerves are a little bit more raw. We're going to feel a little more prickly. We might react emotionally from that stress and not show up as our best selves. And when that happens, it's really great to have a team, or if you're in a relationship and you're going through the immigration process, have your partner hold you accountable. And so my husband and I will say to each other, if the other person is reacting from stress or showing up not as their best selves, we'll say, why are you choosing to have that experience? And oftentimes we'll laugh. It depends on how serious the situation is. We'll laugh, and then you come back to reality and realize, why am I choosing this experience? Why am I choosing, this anger, this frustration, just feeling in this fight or flight mode? Why am I choosing this experience? It comes up a lot with travel. I know when my husband and I went to Scotland, we had this flight that was already scheduled, and we were just supposed to have a really quick 2-hour layover. We thought, we'll get dinner, and then that layover quickly turned into, it just kept being prolonged, a 14-hour layover in Boston. And I remember we could see there was another flight, because there's multiple flights going to Scotland, and our flight was the one that got delayed, and we could see on the screen there was another one leaving, and then there was another layover in Amsterdam that was added. And my husband and I got to both hold each other accountable at various times of that journey for how we were experiencing that situation. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I just want to be on that other plane. And I thought, I'm so tired. And by the time we get there, and he said, why are you choosing to have this experience? And I thought, why am I choosing to have this experience? I can sit here and be so upset and so frustrated. It's not going to change when the flight leaves. It's just going to make me be more miserable during that period of time. And so that's what we do for each other. And I encourage you as a couple to consider that as well, knowing each other well enough, understanding how each of you shows up in situations of stress, and giving each other the ability, or consenting, with each other to that ability to just be able to say, hey, when you're stressed, are you open to me saying and letting you know why, asking you, why are you choosing to have this experience? And that's just what we've agreed on. It works really well for us. And I do that too with my team. My team and I, we hold each other accountable. If there's things that are happening that are stressful, we decide, wait a minute, we kind of have reverted into this like a stress mode. Why are we choosing to have this experience, and how can we reframe? And so for couples who are going through an immigration process, I know when I talk about this with them, this stress is a choice, and that pressure can burst pipes or make diamonds. What experience do you want to have? I know sometimes the response is, yeah, but it's stressful, it's frustrating, it takes so long, and immigration is annoying. Okay, yeah, that's true. But do you want to experience the entire journey in a state of stress? Like, that's the part that's a choice. Do you want it to, ruminating over that? Like I keep saying, keep thinking about how stressful it is. Is that going to change when immigration reviews your case? No. Is it going to change the decision that you'll get? No. Does it change how quickly you'll have an interview scheduled? No. It's that stress that you are experiencing isn't going to help. And so I want to go over this concept. I want you to walk away with a tool, and it's not just as easy as just, switching your mind to changing your thoughts. Oh, I'm stressed. Now I'm not going to be stressed. It's not quite that easy. It is a choice. It really is a choice, but something that one of my amazing, dear friends and mentors, she, is a relationship expert, and she talks about the concept of holding dualities. And this is a concept of you can experience or have two things be present and true at the same time. And that's the tool that I want all of you to walk away with, to be able to understand, yes, stress is a choice, and how am I going to have that be a reality in my life, to not have stress be the central feeling of my immigration case. And that's really going to be the concept of holding dualities. And that is the truth of, I am stressed right now in this immigration process. It sucks. But I'm also really grateful that I have this amazing person in my life, be it your fiance or spouse, and we're going to have an epic life together. And I'm so grateful for that. Those two things can be, true at once. The process can be stressful, but you can also choose to find peace. And so you can simultaneously have peacefulness and that stress, and they can be together. You can see that, that the process is long and it's not comfortable, but you can also hold the duality of, I'm going to choose gratitude for everything that I have in my life, and I'm going to be happy that I've at least started this process. I'm in the middle of the process. I'm one day closer. We are one day closer to being together. And I will have her on a future podcast episode to talk more about this concept of holding dualities. And it's also kind of the idea of reframing. So something couples, when we talk about this, it's like, how can I reframe the fact that I have to wait a year and a half to be with my fiance or spouse? Like, how can I reframe that as something good? And that's something I would challenge you to think about. But personally, my personal experience and what a lot of our clients, their reframe will just be, let's focus on how grateful we are to have found each other, how grateful we are that there is a process and that we're on this journey and that we are closer to being together, and just finding gratitude for everything that you have in your life currently, knowing that this is an immigration case. Yes, it can be a long, but life does also go by quickly. And before you know it, I know a lot of couples say, oh my gosh, it was a long journey, but simultaneously it went quickly. That we're here we are together. We just kept dreaming about this day. So really just reframe all of the things that you have to be grateful for. Focus your energy on your relationship. Make sure you have a mindfulness practice in place to do things that help you to manage your stress, and just focus on the future for both of you, instead of how you feel about all the stress and the frustration in your immigration case. So I hope that this conversation will help you to pause and really think about how you want to experience your immigration journey. How is stress showing up for you? How can you hold dualities? How can you reframe? And what is the decision that you're going to make for your immigration journey? Do you want the experience of the pressure can and burst pipes, or do you want the pressure can make diamonds and come out of this process even more resilient as an individual and as a couple? So just a lot of food for thought. Thanks so much for being with me, and I wish you all the best of luck if you are going through an immigration process. I wish you all the best of luck on your immigration journey. Thanks for watching.